right, all right, all right. So hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? See if anybody can hear me. All right. All right, going live. Ready to go. Okay. All right. All right. I got some confirmation that they can hear me. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. All right, hey YouTube, how you guys doing today? My beard is gray and my name is Trey. All right, so look, today we have a very, very special guest, okay? His name is Brendan Randolph, okay? Brendan Randolph, and he goes by on YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel just like I do, right? And on his YouTube channel, he goes by the name of TheBuffNerd. All right, so look, if you are interested in like anything, you know, IT related, you know, whether it be CCNA or network and stuff like that, please go check out his channel. I'm gonna leave a link into the description, okay? All right, so first and foremost, hey, Brendan, how you doing today?
Not too bad. I'm doing pretty good, sir. Pretty good. How about yourself?
Hey, man, I'm doing great, man. God has blessed me, man, so I'm doing pretty great. I just wanted to bring you on today to talk to you about it. Hey, let me a disclaimer for anybody that's watching the stream, man. You know, so we having technical difficulties. So, you know, like with my camera, man. So it's my first time going live using the camera or doing a live stream, and it's cutting on and off. So don't be worried about that, or don't let that distract from our conversation today. So I'm just putting it out there for everybody to know. But you know, so you know, with Brendan, you know, I wanted to bring Brendan on today because Brendan is a network engineer, right? And that was not the path that he started on, you know. So I just wanted him to come and explain today, like kind of like how he got started in technology and things like that. So Brendan, if you don't mind, could you please tell the people, you know, a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got started into information technology?
All righty. Well, again, I am Brendan Randolph, AKA TheBuffNerd. Currently, I'm a network engineer. I am contracted to the Department of Defense, you know, doing some network monitoring and things along those lines when it comes to different military installations, be it here and outside of the US. Initially, as far as getting into IT, I've always been an enthusiast. Technology has always been something that, you know, I've enjoyed playing around with and learning about. And, you know, just growing up, I was the kid in the house that knew how to fix everything as far as something technology related. And that kind of, you know, pushed me towards going down that IT route. I wasn't always in this area of the business. While I was in the service, I was actually a generator mechanic.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, and so it wasn't until after I got out of the service back in 2018 where I really started to take a deep dive down and trying to break into the IT industry.
So what was your experience like? So you say you was in the service, was that like the Army, the Navy, the Air Force?
Yes, I was in the Army. I was stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina.
Okay. Oh, shout out to hey, shout out to the Deuce, you know what I'm saying? But like,
yes, sir.
but like, okay, so how was your experience like as a generator mechanic, you know, when you first came in and stuff?
Oh man, it was rough, to be completely honest. It was very rough because, like I told you, initially, you know, I wanted to do something IT related, but you know, because you know of everything that was going on as far as life was concerned at that time, I wasn't able to get one of those 25 series jobs, which would be something IT related. And I was told the closest thing to it was a generator mechanic. One of the reasons why I couldn't get an IT job is because at the time I couldn't get a clearance because I forgot what was going on. I think I had like a couple of hospital bills or something that stopped me from getting a clearance. But yeah, that's what made me get into power generation mechanic, which is a fancy word for a mechanic, like a vehicle mechanic, because that's what I did the majority of the time while I was in. I rarely touched generators. The unit that I was attached to focused more on, you know, the upkeep of vehicle maintenance more than generators. And I really didn't like it. I was totally uninterested in my work. You know, it was great. You know, it was a great experience being in the military and having that camaraderie, you know, and, you know, meeting a bunch of great people. But as far as my career was concerned, I was not where I wanted to be. And of course, upon getting out, that's when I really started looking into things that were more IT related and, gearing up and heading in that direction.
Okay, so like, did you make that conscious decision like while you were in, like, hey, I got 4 months left, I got 3 months left. Hey, I think I'm going to go this route. Like, what sparked you to actually want to go that route of going into IT?
What actually sparked that interest was while I was in I decided to build a PC. Me and a good friend of mine, Navarro, he talked me into building a PC because I was more of a console guy. I played Xbox, played PS4, and he had a PC and he was doing all this cool stuff. And he had built his own PC and he talked me into building one. And so I took the time, I spent like $700-800, getting one piece at a time. And I ended up building the PC and it was so much fun. It kind of made me think like, okay, well, this is something that I could definitely do outside of the, like once I get out of the military. And that was the transition from that to, actually getting the certifications. That was a really, really rough transition. We could talk more about that if you want.
Oh yeah. So like, okay. So like when you decided, like what certification did you first decide like, okay, hey, I think I'm gonna go ahead and tackle this one?
The first certification was the CompTIA A+.
Okay.
And that was because, of course, when I decided to go down the IT route, I wasn't sure exactly what direction I wanted to go. I mean, you see plenty of cool things on the internet, cybersecurity, network engineering, being in data centers and all that. I wanted to establish a foundation. And, after going through some of the resources that I was given upon getting out of the military, I realized that the CompTIA A+ was, that foundation that I would need, because being an enthusiast is one thing, but actually understanding the fundamentals and what component does what is something that I was looking for. So yep, the A+ was the first one.
Okay. Now, like being that you had like experience with like building PCs and stuff that you were talking about, did you find that it was kind of like, less stressful or easier for you to study for the A+?
Yes, definitely. Because I mean, of course, the A+ is 2 exams, and one is more tailored towards form factors, hardware, RAM, CPUs, and all of that good stuff. Right. The building PCs made that a breeze. Because I built PCs and I'd understood what the components look like and what they do, and getting blue screens, trying to put it together. It made it a lot easier to get that first half of the CompTIA A+. Okay. The second half was a little bit more, like a little bit more technical, just understanding Windows and all that good stuff. And that's something that took a little bit more elbow grease when it came to studying.
Right. So like going and studying for that second part, right? Because, like I said, the first part is more hardware related. The second part could be a little bit more software related or different operating systems, right? Where you have to know the difference between Windows 7 and Windows 10 and enterprise and home and all this other stuff. Mm-hmm. So like what type of like study material did you use to study for the A+ exam?
To study for the A+ exam, there were a couple of different resources that I used. The course, or not the course, but it was kind of like a boot camp that I'd taken. They gave us access to a website called TestOut, and TestOut is really good. Like the way that they structure, learning the exams was really good, and they had an area, of course, tailored to that second half of the CompTIA A+, right. And that gave me a solid idea. But I also used Professor Messer's courses and his questionnaires and his live streams, because he not only creates the notes that you could use, he also does monthly like Q&As where he'll ask questions and he'll allow the audience to answer, and that's really what kind of cemented everything in for the second half.
I know, man, Professor Messer is like, he has like the most street cred amongst soldiers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Professor Messer is like, I mean, like that's the first name whenever you study, like, just me being in the military, whenever you embark upon the journey, right, and say, hey, okay, I'm gonna get this certification, that certification, the first name that comes out of everybody's mouth is Professor Messer. And I believe for the most part, like, because, this guy has great content, puts a lot of hours into what he has going on, has course notes, like you said, does the Q&As every Saturday, and his content is absolutely free. Like, that's just like the sticking post for most people. So, like Professor Messer is a good way to go for anybody that's out there studying A+ and things like that. Yeah, so that's great, man. So like now you had A+, right? You got that on your back pocket. What did you do after you obtained that certification?
Alrighty. And after obtaining the A+, that's where I really started bumping my head a little bit, because at that stage, you're like, okay, great. The basics, I got it. But, what is the cool stuff I want to do, and this is
Right.
where, like at the time, one of my favorite movie series is like the Bourne series.
Jason
And that's,
Bourne,
yeah, that's dives into cybersecurity and all that good stuff. So I thought that security was the way I wanted to go. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna gear up, I'm gonna use test out, and I'm gonna try to get the security plus. And I failed miserably
Right.
because I approached it wrong. I tried to do it. I tried to cram, and I failed the security plus twice doing that. And after doing that, I had to regroup and figure out exactly, what was going on. Is it just that I'm not very, like as far as cybersecurity is concerned, if I'm not very inclined when it comes to that area of the business, and I decided to go towards the Network Plus to see if, how it would feel, how would the test be, is it a little bit more of a comfortable area of the business? And come to find out, yes, it was very comfortable. I was really good when it came to subnetting, the understanding the cabling and the different components and all of that good stuff just felt a little bit more natural. And so I ended up going for the Network Plus after the A+ and passing while I was an intern.
Hey, let me ask you a question. So, well, I have two actual questions for you. I'm gonna ask you about your particular learning style first and how you absorb information, and maybe you have some tips out there for the audience. And then also I'm gonna ask you about Network Plus. So don't let me forget, because I am 41, man, and thoughts escape me sometimes. But going back, man, so like with your learning style, right? Because like you mentioned, like cramming and you failed, what is your particular learning style? Like, how do you absorb and capture and then be able to regurgitate this information under the pressure of studying, right? When it comes to like taking these certifications, these exams.
All right. Because I noticed that a lot of people that are like really just naturally just really good at IT, they're book readers, and I am not one of those people. I've always been the type to fall asleep when reading. Like reading makes me sleepy, and so in order to properly absorb all the information, I'm more of a get my eyes on it, get my hands on it, touch it, feel it. That's kind of how I get the information to stick. And with networking, that was good because getting your hands on old routers and switches, and seeing the green lights and the amber lights and all of that. It's a little in the weeds when it comes to the Network Plus, but that was what made it very easy to learn. It's because I could get my hands on a lot of the stuff that I was learning about. With cybersecurity, it's a lot. It was like with the Security Plus, it was totally different because it was like just memorizing a bunch of acronyms and the different types of cryptography that
Right.
you have to be aware and understand. And like I noticed that when it came to like just pure memory or just being able to read something and rattle off, I wasn't as good at that as I was when it came to the Network Plus and touching things physically and seeing things in person. That's how I learn personally.
So I'll tell you like this, and this sets me up for my second question, right? Like I've heard people out there in the YouTube verse, the universe, right? And people have different opinions, and we respect everybody's opinion. But I've heard some people say how when it comes to like if you want to be a network engineer, right? Like, should you waste time on Network Plus, or should you just dive right into CCNA? All right, I'm gonna give my thoughts after you give your thoughts. But what are your thoughts on that?
Personally, I did waste time on the Network Plus, and actually, the reason why that happened is because it was before I even knew about the CCNA.
Okay.
At that being that early in my career, and only being aware of the basics and the fundamentals. Of course, after getting the A+, I just kind of naturally went towards the Network Plus. But I was told by people that were smarter than me at the time, they was like, "Oh, you should go for the CCNA," and I'm like, "What's that?" Like I don't know what the CCNA is,
Right.
And but for anyone who's green and new, I would recommend stair stepping, going from the A+, Network Plus, then to the CCNA, because it's all, the understanding the fundamentals is probably that'll make you a better technician than, having the shiniest piece of paper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So personally, I would say, yes, the Network Plus is definitely worth your time if you are green.
Okay. Yeah, that's good, man. And then like say, now that you weighed in, I would double down on that, man. Being someone that has obtained, like say the CCNA myself, like going back to IC&D1, I saw a video where you was just like me, like you got IC&D1 and were kind of late and didn't get IC&D2.
Yeah.
But I was in the same boat. But what I noticed, man, like when I studied for IC&D, after I got my Network Plus, when I studied for IC&D1, which is the first half of the old CCNA for the people that's watching, if you didn't know, the whole first domain was Network Plus. Like I didn't even have to study the first domain. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
it was like, that foundation of knowledge to me was very, very beneficial, just in my point of view, you know what I'm saying? I appreciated that, and like you say, I think the foundation is very, very important, man, to build that IT foundation, like say, especially if you're new to the field or anything like that. All right. But, what I want to talk about was like, okay, hey, so now, you got these certifications and you were just coming out the Army. I'm trying to catch the people up that's watching. We do have some people in the building. Shout out to Farouk Dadar. I'm sorry, if I misspelled your name or mispronounced your name, brother, but we are glad to see you here. Shout out to Miss Paula Pick. Shout out Paula. Paula's a moderator on the channel. Appreciate you, Paula. All right. We do have a couple of questions. I'll get to those real quick. I said, oh, it's Sunday from Pakistan. Well, hey, you came a long way, my brother. I appreciate you. He's asking you, how did you prepare for the CCNA? Could you speak on that a little bit real quick, Brendan? Brendan, sorry, Brendan.
Oh, no, you're fine. The CCNA, it compared to, the CompTIA Plus and the Network Plus at the time was one of the hardest tests I had to take, primarily because similar to you, I didn't get the IC&D2 before everything switched over. So I literally had to go personally. This is my own personal decision. Instead of just trying to bridge the gap between what I missed, I went all the way back and I studied everything all over again. Okay. And actually, how I prepared for it was watching video series on CBT Nuggets. And like I told you, since I'm not much of a book reader, I write down everything. I write down, these are all of the notes that I've taken for the CCNA, the Security Plus.
Man.
Yeah. So like literally every page has something on it. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, the Boson the Boson Xmax, the practice exams. Mm-hmm. Those crucial to me passing the CCNA. Without those, I can guarantee that I probably would have had a harder time. So it was a little pricey, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it, because the way that the Boson explains the answer, if you get it wrong, and it helps you go back to your notes and bridge the gaps and fill in the blanks. Yeah, those are all the methods that I took, and the Boson is definitely something that anyone who's thinking of getting the CCNA should invest in.
Yeah, man. Like, hey, you should definitely 1000%. You should definitely invest in yourself, right? That's 1000%. You should always invest in yourself. I like when I obtained the CCNA recently. Yes, I did use Boson NetSims and like say the practice tests and stuff like that. And what I found was like, because like some practice tests, you'll read them and it's like straight to the point. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, what's 2 + 2, 4, or what's 6 + 6, 12. But that's not how the test is written at all. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
The test is going to be like, hey, if Sam is sitting at his desk and he opens up his laptop and you see a 2, and then you come over here and you see blinking lights, and then it's a 2 over here, then what? You know what I mean? It's written. So you have to get those practice tests that are in the format. And then to continue on with Farouk's question, just for myself. I use a lot of YouTubers for motivation, right? So you have like Mr. Dewan Lightfoot. You have Network Chuck for CCNA. You have Zach IT Career Questions. You know, you have Jeremy Char has a great series like Keith Barker, right? Keith Barker has a lot of good videos. It's a guy named Network Bruh. You know, Network Bruh has a lot of great videos, man, that breaks down the domains like 1.1 and he breaks it down. So there's a lot of different people that you can go out to that have free content. And then Neil Anderson, man, Neil Anderson on Udemy has a very, very, very good course, man, that I use that for ICND1, ICND2, or I didn't complete ICND2, but I did use his stuff to get the new CCNA as well. So those are a few resources that you can go to get the CCNA. All right. So like, how did you go? Like, so you went from the military, right? Mm-hmm. How did you go about obtaining your first IT role outside of the military, if you don't mind explaining that to the people?
Okay. All righty. So I mentioned it in one of my previous videos, but my transition out of the military was hard. It was really difficult because unfortunately, you know, my leadership at the time, you know, focused more on their mission versus helping me transition. So I didn't start transitioning out until about 3 months before my ETS date. You know, and for people that are familiar with the military, that's not a lot of time at all to try and get your life together, especially if you're in a field that you don't necessarily like. So I got to a point to where I got a hold of some resources, but by the time these resources started, I was already out of the military. So I was at home, you know, went back to my mother's house, and I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. All I had was these resources in order to try and get the certification. So I spent all my time doing that. And what I told myself is I was like, okay, what I need to do is I need to get some practical experience. The first thing I decided to do was see if I could land an internship in order to at least, you know, see the technology, you know, understand the flow of things, and, you know, get you know, some sort of head start or some sort of, you know, recon done prior to actually getting into the IT career. And that's what I did. You know, I got an internship at one of the biggest enterprise companies in Detroit, and it got me in front of everything that I needed to see in order to eventually break into the IT industry and become a technical support specialist, which is
okay. Hey, was that a paid internship, or was it just like a free like internship? How did that work out?
Fortunately, it was paid. Fortunately, it was paid. I was prepared for it to not be paid, of course, because, you know, a lot of people run into those kind of situations. But yeah, since it was with a really huge enterprise company, it was paid.
Okay, so, that's great. That's great. I'm sorry I cut you off, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I'll just go and continue elaborating on it. It's no problem.
Okay, so like you was at a paid internship. So like, what do you get to do as an intern? Like, do they like, you know, take the gloves off and let you get busy, or is it kind of like a guided tour about like your role that you will be fulfilling within the organization?
Yeah, I was told, well, for me, it was like you know, all the responsibility, but none of the responsibility at the same time. They put you in situations where, yes, you could take the gloves off and you could get busy and you can start, you know, knocking out tickets. You can, you know, start answering calls and, you know, talking to people and doing all those things. Or if you weren't in that mood, you could do some networking. You could talk to some other teams that are, you know, at the company. And if you want to shadow those teams, you can do that. Because as an intern, I was a desktop tech.
Okay.
So, you know, of course, I got my hands on a lot of stuff. I was doing tickets myself. I was probably doing about 10 tickets a day, which is the standard workflow. But there were times where I was like, I wonder what their data center is like. And I'd be like, you know, can I tour the data center? And they're like, yeah, you know, they gave me contact information. I go talk to a data center engineer and I would tour the data center. And then one day I'm like, I wonder how their InfoSec department is. And so they're like, okay, well, you know, talk to this guy and he'll let you go there. So it was like all of the responsibility and none of it at the same time, which was a perfect thing for me, you know, considering that I was, you know, enthusiast and still very green and, you know, just trying to get the understanding of the workflow.
Yeah, so how you kind of answered it a little bit, but I'll ask you anyway. How helpful and how receptive were those individuals, you know, towards you once they kind of figured out like, hey, this guy's actually, you know, has some initiative and trying to learn?
It was extremely helpful. the reason why I am where I am today is by maintaining that exuberance when it comes to, you know, just being curious of what other people do as far as their day-to-day task, how it can benefit me, how my role relates to their role, and things along those lines. It's like people that are in high places, you know, when they see someone who's fired up, somebody who's fairly new, wants to understand and wants to absorb all the information, they kind of just naturally just radiate all kinds of, you know, like just helpful information and, you know, points in the right direction when it comes to trying to get where you want to be.
Okay. So how long did you stay in that particular situation? Like, how long did you stay in that organization?
I was at that organization in whole for about a year, like a year and a half. And the first 6 months was the internship. And during the internship, I'm do everything possible to try and make sure that I, you know, I either get hired or I leave a very positive, you know, positive footprint when it comes to this company. And fortunately, you know, being as curious I was, you know, talking to all these people and getting all of these healthy recommendations from different teams, I ended up getting a job on the help desk, which was me breaking into the industry.
So okay, the internship was 6 months, because I'm getting ready to do one myself that's 6 months long. How soon within that 6 months did you receive kind of like an offer?
It was, I actually had to, I had to be a little strategic with it because I wanted to be on the desktop team, and the desktop team is like, you know, a layer above the help desk. And, you know, unfortunately there weren't any openings. And so, you know, I kept letting them know like, hey, you know, whatever I can do to, you know, make myself the best option. And so they were like, okay, well, everybody likes you, so we're going to work on trying to get you an offer letter. But the end of my internship is coming up and I'm starting to get a little nervous because I'm like, okay, if this falls through, then I'm kind of going to be back at square one. So while that was going on, I was looking at other options, and with literally all of the technology and all the information that I learned at the internship, I took it to job interviews. And, you know, job interviews are asking me everything about like all the stuff that I was doing while I was at the internship. And I ended up having 3 job offerings on the table.
Okay.
And so I brought this back to my mentor at the internship. I'm like, all right, we'll see. You know, I understand that you guys don't have any positions available. You know, I got these 3 offers lined up, you know, in case we can't figure something out. You know, it seems like, you know, you guys don't really have any room, which is fine. And I'm going to continue to apply, of course, after the internship ends. But this is what I got going on. And that kind of made them hurry up. They're like, okay, this guy's about to go. We like him. We got to get this dude an offer letter. So literally on the last day of my internship, I got an offer letter to join the help desk team.
Oh man, that's an excellent story right there, man. That's crazy. Like, so basically you said again how your initiative made them go ahead and like, hey, we can't lose this guy right here. You know, you showed them something on the job. That was that was great, man. So it
was very nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So you say you worked there for like a year and a half, and then like you left to another company?
Yes, I was on the help desk for a year and a few months. And, you know, help desk is typical stuff. First point of contact, you know, people call you because their stuff's not plugged in, or they need a particular program in order to perform, you know, a specific job function. And all that was fine and dandy. But, you know, of course, after a year of that, you know, you get a little tired and you get a little winded. One of the cool things about this position is that they give you access to CBT nuggets for free.
Oh.
And yeah, and so I was probably one of the only ones on the team that took that serious. Like in between calls, I was on CBT nuggets, watching videos, getting geared up so that I could take the ICND one. Well, no, actually it was the Network Plus and the Security Plus, because those are the 2 certifications that I got first before moving on to become a network admin. But yeah, throughout that entire year, I was, you know, just little bits of pieces, you know, just watching videos, taking tests in between calls. And after that year, I ended up getting a job offering as a network administrator for another enterprise company that was in Detroit.
Okay. So like, did you receive any type of like pay increase or anything like that? Or was it really just still kind of like about like learning and stuff like that?
You mean like while I was on the help desk and obtaining the certifications?
Well, yeah. So like, you said like, hey, I was on the help desk obtaining certifications, then you moved on to a different role. So I'm
Okay.
saying, was that like a bump in pay or position or responsibilities or anything like that?
With a different role, yes, there was. So I went from being on the help desk to being a network administrator. Now, the cool thing about being on the help desk and taking those certs is because I was using resources supplied to me by the company, all of my tests, if passed, were reimbursable. And so, essentially, that company paid for me getting the Network Plus and the Security Plus. But like I said, I was on CBT Nuggets constantly. And after getting the Security Plus and Network Plus, I was also looking at the CCNA. And I had enough knowledge with the CCNA from looking at CBT Nuggets and all that, just for a 6-month basis, to where I did extremely well for an interview as a network administrator. And going from that help desk to an administrative role, the pay increase is like, depending on the company, of course, it could be between $10,000 to $20,000. And so that was the pay increase going from the help desk to a network administrative role.
Man, that's somebody's car. Okay, hey, that's good, man. That's good. That's motivation for the people. All right, so going to be like, leaving the help desk, right? Like I said, first point of contact, everybody's bigger than the ticketing system. Nobody wants to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to jump the line and say, hey, fix my stuff right now.
Exactly.
But going like to the network admin role. Now that would like, so when you're in the help desk, like you're sitting out there, people walk up to you, your network admin, you kind of go to the back room. Is that what kind of happened to you?
Yeah. Instead of being the first person to answer the phone, I became the third person to answer the phone.
Right.
So yeah, it goes from the help desk to the desktop techs. And when they couldn't fix it, then they would call us or they would send a ticket our way. And it took some getting used to, because, being on the help desk for a year, like, yeah, it feels like a year. Well, no, it sounds like it's a year, but being on the help desk for a year, that's like 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, that's just how it feels. It gets so redundant and it gets so repetitive that you kind of you're just like, yo, I got to get out of here. So, being so used to that flow, just tickets, 30 tickets a day, 40 tickets a day. And then going from that to, okay, here's a project. We're trying to add an IDF in a data closet at, site B. You're in charge of it. And that took a lot of getting used to, because, there's so much planning and coordinating with different teams that you have to do, and you still have to be, that third point of contact. So, that was a really, really intense transition.
Yeah, because like I would ask you, how did you feel doing that? And when I say how did you feel, I mean, so you going to the desk, you going from like desktop support, or the help desk, which is like a level of comfort after 365 days plus, right? And then you go to network admin. At any time did you feel kind of like, man, am I really supposed to be here?
Oh, yes. I spent, oh my God, it was almost not the entire time, but for the first 6 to 8 months, yes, I definitely had imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
like crazy. Oh man, because in one of my previous videos, I talk about how when I got the job as a network admin, I didn't have the CCNA. But I was in the middle of studying for it, so I knew a lot of the information, and I did really well on the interview. So for the first 6 months, I'm like, I gotta get the CCNA. I don't want to look like a phony. I don't want them to feel like they made a mistake hiring me, like I'm not experienced enough. And so yeah, like for the first 6 months, I was just on high alert. Anxiety was high, just trying to make sure that I didn't make myself look foolish in front of these dudes. And they were great people. They were so great. They were very understanding. They understood that, because on top of that, COVID hit immediately after I got the job. So there was a lot of moving pieces and there was a lot of stressors. But, if you got the right team and, you're very open and honest about where you are as far as how experienced you are, most people will be willing to work with you and, get you in front of the technology you need to be familiar with, or give you some leeway so that you can get caught up.
Okay. So like you had the network admin position, and then you transition from there to like when did you transition to like a LAN WAN administrator?
Okay, so yeah, going from there to becoming a LAN WAN administrator, that was actually a really interesting transition, because my goal in mind when it came to the IT industry, I was like, okay, I want to be a network engineer. It seems like that I would be best at that, because, like I said, I was more inclined. It was a lot easier to absorb information when it came to networking. So that's where I wanted to go. And also, since I was in the military, I had a security clearance.
Right.
And so, people kept telling me, they're like, oh, you got a security clearance, don't waste it. And so I was a network admin, and that role was solid. It was solid. I was doing engineer work, to be completely honest. But of course, me being as green as I was, I didn't know that. I was just like, okay, every admin role is like this. So if I were to get another one, it would be similar to this, and that's just, my own, ignorance and not really knowing. And so when I got this job as a LAN WAN admin that utilized my security clearance, that's when I moved from, I'm from Michigan. But from that point, I moved from Michigan down to North Carolina, back at the base that I was stationed, which is Fort Bragg. And going from that role to this LAN WAN role, it was like taking a step back and becoming that first point of contact again, because that role was more of like a knock role. It was more like a knock analyst, where you like a shift work, 24-hour center, 24-hour network operations center. You're using monitoring platforms like SolarWinds in order to make sure that all of the sites stay up, and if not, coordinating with different teams. And you're not on projects like that anymore. You're not inside of network closets or anything like that. You're just in a big NOC or SOC, monitoring different sites. And that was I was a little taken back by that, and it was a little upsetting, to be completely honest, because I was like, oh man, I had access to all of these technologies, because as the first role I had as a network administrator after the help desk, I was touching Palo Alto firewalls. I was touching Cisco Firepower firewalls, Cisco ASAs. I was touching Cisco Meraki. What else was I touching? That's just to give you a frame of reference. Right. I was touching a lot more, things in that particular role. And then if we go from that back to just SolarWinds, or, SolarWinds, but, very, very level 2 things like, logging into routers and making sure that they're on the proper VLAN, and printers, and, voice over IP and things along those lines. It was a step back, and, it was a little bit of a downer, to be completely honest.
Well, I mean, it's like that, man, because, sounds like when you were up in, when you were up there, it kind of wasn't like, anytime you work for the government, man, the government is 10 years behind everything. I mean, like when, like, man, like, because, people have to understand out there, right? Like the government, when we say the government, like we take the different branches of service, right? Like the Department of Defense. So you have an organization like the Army, which is like several hundred thousands of people. It takes a long time to implement change, right? When you talk about change management, it takes a long time to implement change in an organization that is that big. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not like a speedboat. It's more of an oil tanker, right? It turns around very, very slow. Like I remember, like it took us so long to just upgrade to Windows 10. It was just like ridiculous, but and then everybody else was talking about all this cool stuff that they're doing. So just know, for the people that's out there watching, just know, like, if you go into the private sector versus come into the government sector, it's going to be like, you know what I mean? Yeah, you'll have stability, but you might not be mentally aroused,
right? Yeah.
Or, what I mean? Or intrigued, or whatever the case may be. Hey, so Brendan, so check this out, right? Now, what is like a day in the life of a network engineer consist of? I mean, like everything, like from the time you wake up, like, to the time you get off, like how long do you work? Like, what does your normal day look like?
Okay. So with the role that I'm in now as a network engineer, this role I am in now is it's like a mixture between the LAN WAN admin role that I was at previously and the network administrator role that I had back in Michigan. So it's shift work. You know, it's a network operations center that's 24/7. So there always has to be people on staff.
Right.
You're the second point of contact if things go down. So this role deals with, you know, a lot of like BGP, which is a routing protocol, and OSPF tunnels between our location and locations around the world.
Right.
And so, yes, you sit at a desk. So you come in for work. You sit at your desk. First thing you do is you check emails. You check your emails to, you know, just make sure that, you know, whatever's going on, you understand what's going on. You know, if there's been any changes, if there's any circuit outages or aircraft issues, make sure that everything is up to date. And so, okay, cool. You do a shift change. You'll talk to the people that were on the shift before you, and they'll tell you anything that's not in the notes, you know, anything that could potentially be missing or things that you should be aware of. After that, what we'll do is we'll perform network configuration backups for all of our equipment. And, you know, that's how things would start. From there, it's kind of wide open. If there's nothing going on, you can have an opportunity to get some studying in, or, you know, get familiar with any technologies that's going on. There's a few different teams that we coordinate with, and sometimes those teams have projects, and if nothing's going on and there's coverage, you can assist them with one of those projects, and that could be implementing some sort of technology, removing some sort of technology, anything along those lines. Some teams do TDY, and they travel out of the country to these different military installations and do work, you know, make sure things are up to speed and in compliance. But for the most part, that's how the day begins. It can go in either one of those directions, depending on, you know, of course, what's going on. And at the end, towards the end of your shift, it's like doing the same thing, but in reverse. What you'll do is you'll check your emails to make sure that ain't nothing different going on. You would annotate and document anything that happened during your shift. And you would get a shift change report ready for the team that comes on after you. So not too bad, you know, it's not hectic. It's not like the help desk, you know, it's not like everybody scrambling to answer phones, but at the same time, you are going to answer some phone calls.
Do you like your job?
Yes, I like my job. I like it, but of course, you know, getting to the point to where I could touch some of those technologies again, because like we said, you know, like this is the government side, so they're a little dated when it comes to their, you know, technology. You know, getting into a position that would allow me to, you know, either, you know, focus really hard on a specific area of the business, like wireless or network security or like firewalls or anything along those lines, or, you know, getting into a role that, you know, focuses more on project and network implementation, so that I can, you know, build experience without sitting still, you know, because that's one thing that's been in the back of my mind when it comes to this current role, because it's a great role. Projects are cool. The people I work with are decent, but, you know, if like getting complacent is definitely a possibility, you know, and that's something that I don't want to do. I don't want to let my skills atrophy. So yeah, that's how I feel about my job right now.
I know that's real, man. Hey, so tell me, like, what do you do? Like, how is your family life? Like, what do you do to, like, you know, manage work-life balance, you know, to make sure that you're not, like, you know, working too much? Because that's always like a problem for me.
Yeah.
Like, how do you balance that?
That's something that's a daily battle. I haven't really figured out how to do it yet. I just kind of try to, you know, handle the problems as they come, and, you know, just make sure I consider, you know, things at the house before considering, you know, doing something as far as my job or my career is concerned. I got 2 kids, and these kids are at ages, you know, like they're 6 and 8. So a lot of energy. They want my attention all the time. And, you know, when studying for the CCNA and the, some of those other certifications, like, the Network Plus, I had to put them on the back burner a little bit, which I didn't like, but it was, of course, like the end goal was so that I can make a better life for them. But now that I'm in I'm in a like my dream job, or, I'm a network engineer, now I dial my career back a little bit so that I can make up for that time that I put them on the back burner. So it's a give and take. It's a give and take. Fortunately, they understand, because, they get all the fun stuff from me being a network engineer. They get all the toys and all the prizes and all the, all that good stuff. So, it's a constant battle. It's a constant battle.
Yeah. I know that's, like, say, it is, we just have to sometimes, recognize it in ourselves, like with anybody, when you are like a high achiever, right? You always thinking like, man, I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this, so you just have to kind of manage it. So, you don't get, burnt out or whatever the case may be. So yeah, that's good, man. Well, hey, man, like say, man, this has been a great conversation, man. Don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate everybody that's on the line and everybody that's been watching throughout this live stream. If you could, real quick, tell us where, people can find your channel and what social media platforms that you're on and stuff like that.
Alrighty. So the main platform that I am on is YouTube. My name is Brendan Randolph again, AKA TheBuffNerd. If you want to find me, just type in TheBuffNerd on YouTube. I'm sure you'll see me flexing or talking about something, something IT related, or, completely destroying a PC or something along those lines. But outside of that, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, if commenting on YouTube isn't your thing, you can find me on LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn, look for Brendan Randolph. The Buff Nerd doesn't really translate well when it comes to LinkedIn. So yeah, look for Brendan Randolph. And you can ask me a personal question, or you can, ask for advice, or you could tell me what you got going on, and we can bounce ideas off of one another. I'm always a student. Trust me, I'm not better than anybody that, I make these videos for. Best thing I'm trying to do is see not only myself succeed, but see all of you guys get everything that you want out of the IT career as well.
Right. I'm posting a link to your LinkedIn. So everyone out there that's watching the live stream, if you want to go ahead and add Brendan on LinkedIn, I posted his links in the description, also in the chat. So just go ahead and follow Brendan. If you have any questions for him in the future, please let him know. So, hey, Brendan, I just want to thank you once again for coming and blessing the people, with your experience and stuff like that, man. And we truly, truly appreciate you. And anytime you want to come back, man, just let me know.
Absolutely, man. You've been a great host, and this has been a very fun conversation. I don't really get to talk to, like, outside of the structured videos, I've never got to talk to somebody live about who I am and, how we relate as far as what we experience in our career. So definitely, man, I'm going to do my best to, let people know who you are, because you're a real smart dude, man. And a lot of people can learn a lot of things from you.
Hey, man, thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you, and appreciate everybody for tuning in. It is Brendan Randolph, the Buff Nerd, and I says me, CiscoSoldier, AKA Uncle Trey, and we holla at y'all.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now let me figure out how to turn this shit off. All right. Yeah. All right. So let me see. All right, man.